What is up, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Winter Meetings, your baseball podcast. I'm your host, Seven. With me is my partner in crime, the fabulous Craig Newton. And I am very excited to say that we also have a special guest with us this week. Joined us last week, former Yankees pitcher. Thankfully, to save his grace, he is a Red Sox fan. Stefan, we were this together. What's up, buddy?
How are you guys?
Hey, Stefan.
Good to be here.
It is great to be here. It's been a great week of baseball, too. We're starting to see some things start to dial in.
Yeah, great first couple weeks.
First thing I wanted to talk about, I thought it was really cool. Justin Verlander. There we go. I'll get his name right eventually. Justin Verlander is starting to get back into prime form. 8 scoreless innings yesterday for the Astros. Starting to really see he's coming back from that Tommy John. When
I think of the top 3 pitchers in baseball, he's definitely one of them. Him, Kershaw, and Scherzer, I think.
I can't disagree with you. And
he's amazing because he'll throw 94 in the first inning and 99 in his last inning.
I got to tell you, as someone who's an Astros fan and has followed that man's career for the last few years and was terrified the last couple of years that he was not going to come back and near what he went away as. He's looked really better than I expected this early on.
History has shown that players that have Tommy John surgery actually do come back somewhat stronger.
Well, because when they go in and do that Tommy John surgery, it's a ligament that they repair in their elbow, isn't it? They just kind of shorten it up.
No, I think they take a ligament out of another part of your body and put it into your elbow. They take a brand new ligament.
I believe it's like they did with my knee. They take it out of the hamstring,
right,
and they put it in the elbow.
And what I've seen a lot of conversations start to transition to when it comes to that surgery is if you feel like it's going to be needed, get it when you're younger. That way, by the time you get to the majors, you've already gone through it because you're going to lose a year when you get it, no matter what. So it's better to lose that when you're still in the minors or in college than to lose that time when you're already in the majors.
Well, I think there are two sides of that story because there are parents that are having their kids have Tommy John surgery at age 14 just because hoping they'll come back. I don't think that's right.
Mm.
This was my thing with Verlander is it wasn't just the surgery because I agree with you, Stefan. Like him coming back from Tommy John's isn't necessarily crazy. It was the age on top of the surgery. Plus, he basically missed 2 years, because of it. And I'm really happy because I didn't know what the Astros pitching was gonna look like without him doing well.
From everything I hear, he's a tremendous worker. So I'm sure he worked his ass off.
Before I dive deeper, Craig, what were your thoughts?
That's disturbing to hear what Stefan said, that you got kids that are electing to have that surgery done. That's ridiculous.
Well, of course, it's the parents, not the kid.
Yeah, right.
The parents, Oh, he's only 14. He gets it done now. He's back to playing at 16, 17, and that's still enough time to make it into the majors.
Yeah. No, and Stefan, you know better than anybody. I mean, as a pitcher, you're at that age, you're still developing your strength. You're still developing the muscle.
Oh yeah, the muscles and bones are still developing.
Yeah, and to go and do that surgery that early, ridiculous.
Crazy.
It's hard enough being a pitcher at a young age as it is. I'm sure issues that develop over the years, and just to be thinking about having this surgery that pitchers are having 15, 20 years into their careers when these kids are just getting started is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and plus, along the same line, you see pitchers in college or high school now throwing 95 miles an hour. I never see them in the big leagues. They're gone by then.
And one of the things that we're going to talk about was there was a Reds pitcher yesterday that threw 39 fastballs that broke 100 in his outing yesterday.
That's right.
39 in one outing. We're going to be talking a lot about the Reds today, though, because those comments by the owner. Oh my God! We're going to have a field day with that one. But okay,
as someone who's now living in Ohio, people are livid.
Let's dive into that because
that's my piece I want. I call dibs on that one.
Yeah. So Craig, we'll give you the lead in on this one. So we saw the owner of the Reds, Phil Castellini, or some weird ass name, make comments on opening day about where else are you going to go when talking about the team not being more aggressive and trying to make more moves to be a better, to be more of a considered a playoff contender.
Right.
And he had a very standoffish take, acting like this is what you're going to get. And admittedly, he did retract his comments later, which I think was more out of force than anything else. I think we saw the honesty the first time. Pissed off a lot of people. So, Craig, I'll give you the lead on this one.
But it could be worse. It could be March shot.
No, you're right. But okay, Craig, take it away, man. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, you took all my thoughts just about. Damn it, Castellini with an I. He's the chief operating officer who shouldn't be allowed to operate a McDonald's, let alone a Major League Baseball team. This really pissed me off because first we heard from Manfred. He called the World Series trophy a hunk of metal, and you've got a member of the ownership team. See, guys, this is where, remember I told you a couple weeks ago, I'm calling the new ownership basically hedge fund groups that are hiding behind the title baseball owners.
Right.
Do you understand why I'm saying that now? These guys don't give a shit about the fans.
I agree.
And this guy, like you said, his first thought, sure he apologized. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Save your apology. That was his first thought.
Let's run it. I think we probably should tonight.
All right, sorry.
No, it's fine. No, and as we keep talking about this, Josie, were you able to get that up for me?
I'm getting it up right now. And
Okay.
no problem, Craig. I don't care.
Sorry.
I'm the worst.
I get a little,
we've got when we guest show on other channels, like I've gotten messages later like, "Hey, watch your link." I don't.
No, shame on me. I'll do better. It's Easter.
Well, it's not CBS.
I'll do better.
It's not CBS.
It's not CBS.
Okay, so I came across this tweet today.
It's up.
And okay,
I saw it.
Josie's gonna bring this up here. So since Phil Castellini asked fans where are you going to go on opening day, the Reds have lost 6 straight games by a combined score of 43-15. They've never had a lead, and the team owns the worst record in baseball at 2-8.
And
that was Brandon saying.
7. Just to adjust for that, that's actually not even right anymore because they lost to the Dodgers today 9-1.
So it's 2-9 now. So that they are officially 2-9 on the year.
And Dodgers scored that in 1 inning.
Amazing.
So I lost you guys.
Well, I mean, with that lineup, it doesn't surprise me. They can turn it on anytime they want. That's that's Murder's Row 2.0 in baseball right now. I know. Craig said it. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So getting back to I lost you. I dropped out for a second there. So my feeling about this guy is that, like you said, Tony, he is speaking his first truth.
Yep.
And so his apology doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Nope.
And it's his question, his throwaway question was, well, where are the fans going to go? Well, you know where they went? They went right to social media, and they scurried the a-hole. I mean, I'm sorry, they scurried the guy. And as well as should be.
You know what kills me on this whole thing is I just moved to Ohio. I've just been here a month, and I've been looking really forward. The Great American Ballpark has always been on my list of one of those ballparks I wanted to visit. It's just one of those ballparks. Now I'm like, do I really want to put money in this man's pocket?
Exactly.
No, I played in Columbus. You know I played in Columbus, right? With the Columbus Clippers?
Oh, no way.
Yes, way.
Well, then we're
all the cowbells.
The next couple of weeks we're going to see the Dayton Dragons, which is supposed to be the big minor league team around here.
Yeah, I couldn't stand the cowbells. I was dreaming cowbells. I was dreaming cowbells.
It's minor. I think the minor league games are kind of the true old feel of baseball. It's a lot more intimate, but it's still, it's definitely the old part of baseball that is still intact in most ways.
Yep.
Except for when you go over to like a Savannah Bananas game where that's just like baseball meets Harlem Globetrotters, and it's
I mean,
fantastic.
and you got it.
I love it.
You said it right there. And don't get me wrong. I follow the Savannah Bananas on TikTok. I actually follow their scores and everything. But they are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. When you allow foul balls that a fan catches being out, I mean, that's crazy. But
the flaming bat stick, I love the flaming bat stick though. That's just legit. Guy has to walk up with a bat that's on fire.
The guy that hits on stilts. A guy
foul balls.
On stilts.
Foul balls caught by fans or outs.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we
ahead,
did a little research on this team, and so they're not officially affiliated with minor league teams, but something like 75% of players on this team end up going to have some kind of career in the majors.
Yeah, it's the buyout rate, the contract buyout rate from the league that the Bananas are in as a whole is 50%. Half the guys in that league go on to some form of an MLB contract.
Wow.
It's an indie league, and it's one of the ones that the MLB will use to test rules. And that's why these players get visibility, is because the MLB is using it for data.
Right.
But back to what you were saying, Seven, like in a season, I love to go to a major league game. That's great. It's fun. It's something that you only get when you go to baseball. But if you're to give me the chance at going to a few minor league games and a couple of major league games, I'm going to hop on that all day long, because to me, it's so much more fun.
Definitely. I have season tickets
to get the fans involved in minor league is just not.
I have
doable.
Season tickets to the Hillsbury Hops here, which is a high A team, the Diamondbacks.
It's and the Diamondbacks organization is one of the other of those bottom organizations that frustrates me, and it's purely because of Ken Kendricks and how he is as an owner. I've said it multiple times. He is he's a mirror of Phil in some ways. There was a former attorney that worked for the Attorney General's office that publicly criticized Kendrick's handling of the team and saying he needed to sell, which is still honestly legitimate review, just a legitimate consideration of really how things are, because since Jerry Colangelo left that organization, they haven't done very well consistently.
No.
But this Attorney General criticized him publicly on Twitter, and Kendricks threatened him to his face and then tried to get him fired.
Wait, the Attorney General of Ohio?
No, Arizona.
Oh, Arizona.
This is the Kendricks, the owner of the Diamondbacks.
Right. I'm sorry, I lost track.
And no, it's okay. And no, but you had mentioned that you have for the high A for the Diamondbacks at work. That's where I thought of that. But and Kendricks is not a good owner. And so for me, I haven't I went for opening day partially because it was Baumgartner and Yu Darvish. That's a good pitching mashup.
Oh, definitely.
You ended up throwing 6 scoreless innings, 4 walks, no hits, but they pulled him because he was at 92 pitches. So they had to. Baumgartner was out by the end of Baumgartner didn't even, I don't think he went even 3 full innings because he'd already thrown 7 pitches. It was,
to get in the bat, that's what's important to him.
Yeah. And I feel bad for Baumgartner, because when he's on, he's legitimately one of the best pitchers in baseball. But when he's not locating like he should, I'm not even worried about gas at this point. Just locate the pitch properly. Right. He would be vastly more useful to that young bullpen that they've got, because if he can just get to a point where he's consistently getting 6 innings, only giving up a few, you're going to get more out of that young bullpen that they've got than setting him up and having to go out by the end of the 3rd inning, 4th inning on a regular basis. It's
definitely.
Why is he a starter at that point?
You just brought up a great point, Seven, and we have this conversation across all sports on a regular basis. But the owners of these teams are killing these teams. And it's not just baseball. You can list probably 10 or 12 in baseball alone, and then I go ahead and list the owner for the Houston Texans and the garbage that he's put out the last couple of years. And I mean, the
owner for the
Shad Khan for the Jaguars. I mean, the list goes. And then if you go into basketball, you got the owner of, Right now, the owner of the Lakers Jenny Buss isn't looking too great with the
It is a
moves.
train wreck of an organization right now.
Yeah.
They should be doing so
I
much
think
better.
owners pretty much just get into it to make money.
They get
Yeah.
into it to make money, but then they don't realize that the work that is put into making because if you're not a successful team, your fan base is going to turn on you. And don't get me wrong, I've been a Texans fan since they came about. I will always be a Texans fan.
Oh,
but
sorry
it's
to hear
really
that.
hard for me to what was that?
I said sorry to hear that.
I've also been a Houston fan my whole life, or a Nationals fan my whole life, and that hasn't paid off until the last couple of
Go
years.
trash cans.
Yeah, but it came back big time.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That ring still fits on the finger.
Yeah, I got a middle finger for you for that ring.
But these owners that just get in it to make money. You said it. Shad Khan is one. And don't get me wrong, I'm a giant wrestling fan. I love what his son is doing for wrestling. But that man has taken a team that just a few years ago was being looked at as one of the top teams in the league. And they have went to the exact opposite where they were 5 years prior to that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's
there needs
I'm a
to
big
be some
Torey
kind of
Luvulo fan.
requirement or something for these owners to get, because these just businessmen who think they're just coming in to run a business don't realize that it is a business, but it's a sports business.
No, you're right, and there's a lot to it. Sorry, go ahead, Stefan.
Plus, I think I said this last week. In addition to a salary cap, there should be a salary base. Like you have to spend over a certain amount of money.
It's well, like in one of the things that I thought was very interesting. Today, the Yankees lost to the Orioles. So they lost the series, the 3-game series to the Orioles. The Orioles payroll this year is $64 million. $23 million of that is somebody that's no longer on the roster or even playing professional baseball.
Oh, Chris Jones?
That means, yeah. So that means
what?
41. Their payroll is $41 million. Okay. That is for active players. The Yankees payroll for active players this year is still over $200 million. I think it's 266 was the last number I saw.
I mean, we could just say it. Carlos Correa is making more than that solo this season.
35.1 million.
35.1 million. Almost like, and if he hits any of those bonuses, he will. That's insane. That is insane.
And Gary Sheffield Jr. is very active on Twitter and supportive of the Yankees organization, which I think is fantastic. But to also have to see him go through all of the breakdowns like today, following his Twitter feed today was both funny and sad. Like,
I love seeing A-Rod after a Yankee loss.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to say.
Nope. Does not interview well. Not a problem to have the mics in his face when they win.
Him and Poppy are hilarious to watch.
Oh yeah, Poppy's great.
Lose. It is hilarious to watch Poppy after the Red Sox lose. I'm sorry, I know y'all are fans, but it is a funny thing to watch.
Yeah, Pedro too. Him and Pedro together.
Oh yeah. Oh god.
Right.
But I feel bad for Reds fans, but they did get the benefit. The other thing we're going to talk about Reds organization-wise, Hunter Greene, in his outing yesterday, threw 39 fastballs that broke 100 miles an hour.
But they still lost.
They lost. What was it? Like, it was like 5-2, 5-3, something like that. But that is remarkable.
Who's that young kid they had? They just got brought up a rookie. He throws like over 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's in their bullpen. He's got a lot of gas too.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And he's a young guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's even 21 yet.
No, that's a guy you're afraid of blowing out his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially with a young guy like that's got that much, you almost have to wonder, because sometimes those guys, they get that power, which is great, but then it fades just as quickly as it got it.
Right. And from experience, when you lose your fastball, you lose your control because you're always trying to throw hard again. All of a sudden you're throwing 85 and you're trying to throw 90 and then you're all over the place because it totally
Makes
screws up
sense.
your windup.
I was
Makes
actually going
sense.
to ask, does Stefan, when that happens, when you lose just that 5 miles an hour, does it basically going back to the beginning of relearning to control at that speed?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you just have to come to the realization that you're not a power pitcher anymore, which is very hard for some guys, myself included. I used to love blowing the fastball by people.
I mean, it's got to be a great feeling.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's got to be a huge thing to change when you're that power pitcher that does throw those 95s, 100s, and you're blowing it by, and then you got to switch to more of a finesse style. Like, okay, what can I throw to get them in a count? And
Right.
it's a totally different type. Just watching pitchers now, you can tell the guys who have to throw finesse, to throw power, and
Right.
Well, it's just like Greg Maddux talked about how much more he had to focus locating at the end of his career, except for against Tony Gwynn because it didn't matter. But
Well, I think of Dennis Eckersley. I mean, he started out as a starting pitcher, and he's in the Hall of Fame, not starting pitching, but for his relief work.
Doesn't he have 100
had to
wins as a
learn.
starter and 100 saves as a reliever?
Yep.
Yep.
He's one of the few to do that too.
Yeah, he's hilarious. I watch a lot of the Red Sox broadcasts. He's hilarious.
Same. I like Eck. I really wish they would get somebody else other than O'Brien up there in the booth with him.
When they lost Orsillo, that was a big blow.
I would honestly rather see Eck and Euclid up there doing it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Because Euclid, like I watched some of the spring games with Euclid in the box, and he did fantastic. He's got a lot of knowledge.
He's got a brewery in Los Gatos, not too far from where we live, that he owns.
I've seen him post some
he's
stuff
there
about
quite
that.
a bit. So
he's really good for that organization. And I feel like if you can get to kind of like with having Poppy around, if you can keep him around to some extent, you're going to get a lot of good out of him because the more he's in the clubhouse, those young guys are going to flock to him for advice.
Yeah, I think same with Veritek.
Yeah, Veritek is another one. Him, Poppy, Veritek, and probably Pedro.
Right.
Those guys, I mean, you just, as an organization, hey, we'll give you $20,000 to come up for spring training and just talk to these guys. Stay around, hang out, run through some drills with us, pass on some knowledge, stroke their egos a little bit. Like, you're going to get more out of that than you're going to spend.
Hey, Tony, that 20 grand was before he makes the Hall of Fame. Now he's a Hall of Famer. That's going to be about 120 grand.
I mean, just arbitrary numbers. Like I'm so poor that 20 grand sounds like $1 million to me. But no, like in that's what I think that's one of the things that's great about baseball is you see that passing along come through from the older guys to the younger guys, and it's a very important piece of the organization.
Can I talk about that?
Not every older guy does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I talk about that
really
for a second about the Giants?
Yeah, some of them do. It's like Alex Gordon has stayed away from the Royals organization, even though he was a staple of that organization for the longest time. But I think he kind of wants a break. I'm sure he'll kind of come back after a bit. But, you kind of get both ways. What were you going to say, Craig?
I would say the Giants are number one in doing it right. I mean, how many times I walk down into the clubhouse and there's Mays, there's McCovey, there's Gaylord Perry, there's Juan Marichal, there's Leonard Cepeda. And now, as those gentlemen are getting much older.
Wait, all at once? All at once? That's a great team.
There were several times when they were all there at once. Oh yeah, I couldn't get a word in. I mean, no, they just they loved hanging out with Mike Murphy, the equipment manager for the Giants since 1958. But yeah, there's several times when they were all healthy that they were there for opening day. Oh yeah, all the time.
Astros do that too. You hear all the time of Bagwell and Biggio coming up there and doing batting practice with the guys just because that was one of the reasons, even if Verlander didn't come back as good, I wanted him in that dugout because he's so talented, so much knowledge. You need guys like that. The teams
I think
are really
competitive. With the Giants, I think the same thing will happen with Buster Posey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. Yeah. Right now, I mean, carrying on the torch is Will Clark and Matt Cain, They come to spring training. Will Clark is a traveling, travels to all the minor league teams now. He's on the road quite a bit. But yeah, when Buster Posey's ready to come back, open arms. He'll probably he can do whatever he wants because there'll be a statue at that stadium also for him too.
I like kind of like Mancini when after he retires and goes back to Baltimore, like he will be able to do whatever he wants in that organization.
I feel like,
especially after the cancer scare.
Yeah,
the teams that really do well for long periods of time know the power of having those guys that have been in that uniform for so long.
Exactly.
In having your Poppies, having your A-Rods, as much as I can't stand those two guys, like they are two of the probably most knowledgeable baseball minds in the world.
Wait, how can you not like Poppy?
You also got to remember.
He's just bitter. He's bitter.
Yeah. Yes. You got to remember, I'm a Stros fan my entire life.
Well, he might be bitter, but he's always got a big smile on his face.
He does. No, I was saying Josie's bitter because of all of the times that Poppy ended the season of the Astros.
Right.
Which
sorry
was
about
a lot.
that.
Him and A-Rod.
I feel really bad for you.
And there's even more deep-seated to A-Rod for the sheer fact that there were like 5 years from like 2011 to 2014 that A-Rod made more than the entire Astros salary cap.
That's I mean, it was A-Rod.
Remember when he opted out and he signed a bigger contract?
Yep.
Yes.
He's already making like $1 billion and he signed for $2 billion.
Hey, let's not forget A-Rod. Those mirrors cost a lot of money that he has, all around his home and all that.
He uses a lot of coconut oil to keep that skin so fresh too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You
Yeah.
Get into that.
Well,
and those alimony payments to J-Lo. Those
I was going to say he's now the fifth man paying her alimony. So
yeah, but anyone that cheats on J-Lo is automatically got a strike against him.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's just nope. I've got friends that are gay that we've been joking around about things. They'll be like, "Oh, J-Lo, I'd go straight for her." I've heard that multiple times.
Gay guys?
Yes.
That's funny.
From someone that's in the community, I know several gay men that would go straight for that woman.
And they'd probably go for A-Rod too.
Yeah, they'd have fun with both.
And just dive right in the middle. Most of them would.
They go for a threesome.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, if there was enough money and booze involved and they approached me, I mean,
no.
But anyway,
don't say what I think you're going to say.
No.
Don't say what I think you're going to say.
I would definitely turn it down. In a heartbeat. I would so turn it down. No.
That's what I tell people. I'm a pitcher, not a catcher.
Oh man. Well, yeah. And then I say that I used to be a catcher, and everybody's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like, no. Let me clarify. But congratulations. Seriously though, congratulations on Hunter Greene, because that is the record for most 100-mile-an-hour pitches thrown in a game. DeGrom has second with 33, and he also holds the fifth slot as well, which is just more proof at how ridiculously good DeGrom is.
Yeah, he is. But you know what they used to tell me when I was playing? Fastballs strengthen your arm. Breaking balls weaken your arm. Which makes sense to me because fastballs build up the muscle up here. Breaking balls, you're twisting your elbow in all sorts of weird shapes.
Yeah, and
I would
the throwing, the release point and the throwing motion are going to be different. The grip of the ball is, so I can see where that makes sense.
I think that being a breaking ball finesse pitcher would be more wear and tear on the arm because you're having to do more to change the direction and velocity of the ball than just powering in there as best you can.
I think it's an underlying reason why teams want to make sure you have a good fastball as a pitcher, even for relief guys and closers, because if you don't have at least a fastball in one of their pitch, like there's pitchers that are closers and relief guys that have two pitches, like a fastball and a curve, or a fastball and a knuckle, or a slider or something like that. You got to have that fastball. You're not useful in Major League Baseball today.
You got to have that fastball and two other pitches.
And the more you can locate, the more innings you will pitch. Because like we look at the Red Sox, Garrett Whitlock, Rule 5 pick steal from the Yankees. Absolute freaking steal from the Yankees.
They must be hating it.
Oh, they've got to be.
I love
it. Like it's fantastic. And now that he's back into it, he hasn't played in basically 2 years. Now that he's back into it, he had 3 days. He pitched like 4 days ago, had 3 days of rest, pitched yesterday, even though they didn't stay. Cora was originally saying he wasn't going to use him, and he has thrown dominant plate appearances both times.
Well, he's got such a smooth arm action.
His arm action is almost the exact same for every pitch.
Right.
And difference. And they've been comparing, like they showed, because like Sale is left-handed versus him being right. But they've shown, like, if you look at their throwing motions, he almost exactly mirrors Chris Sale's throwing motions, but from the right instead of the left. I was optimistically saying he'll be starting by the end of the year.
Well, Cora was talking about him piggybacking with Houck, like Houck going the first 5, and then Whitlock finishing up.
And I think that's a good combo because Houck is great as long as he's on, but you don't want to put anything more than like 4, 5, 6 innings on his shoulders.
He's got amazing movement.
He does, and he looked great yesterday too, which was very optimistic to see because he's another one of those when he's on, he's on. And seeing them two piggyback yesterday was absolutely fantastic. But I think at some point this year, especially if there's an injury or like when they have to go to Toronto, Houck isn't vaccinated, so he can't go to Canada. So I'm not saying this next trip when they're out, he's going to start. I don't think that's going to happen. That would surprise the hell out of me if it was. But end of the season, they're playing in Toronto. Maybe Whitlock gets to start in that situation because Houck can't.
Of course, maybe by then he'll be vaccinated.
I mean, one could hope, but you never know. It's those guys. It's their body. It's their choice. It's just, I mean, if he can, probably a good idea so you can actually go pitch all your games. Right. Okay, so we're going to take a quick breather here. We're about halfway into our shift. And then we come back. We are going to talk about Shohei Ohtani. We'll be back.
Okay, sounds good.
Waiting on
No one pulls up like we do. No one does us like we do. Always go hard with this crew. Welcome to the show, let's make moves. Nothing's gonna stop us, it's not to get rough. Turn the whole room up, it's never enough. Let's go, 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 let's go.
If you haven't heard, the Sports Report is now its own brand. We have the winter meetings. We have the Sports Report After Dark and our flagship show every Mondays. Make sure you check that out. We have more coming, the wrestling, combat sports, so make sure you check that out. And we get back to the guys.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us here. Like he said, don't forget to check out the Sports Report Monday nights at 10 Eastern on the Pinfall Streams YouTube channel. And also, if you look for Sports Report on Twitch, you'll be able to find us there. That features me, Will, Dan, occasionally Josie, and a smattering of others as we dive into all things sports related. And then the Sports Report After Dark is 11:30 Eastern on Monday nights. And that is me and Dean the Dick Warner as we dive into the human side of sports and prove that athletes are people too. And Skip Bayless is one of the lizard people. Okay.
And Tony La Russa.
And also more of me talking about just in general, fuck Tony La Russa. But
he looks like he's stuffed. He's so pale, he looks like he's stuffed.
He looks like he's condensing into himself. Like he's slowly just compressing like a can in a press.
No, this is the thing. He's so evil. He's not going to die. His body is literally just eating on itself, and he's just going to wither away.
Just gonna turn into a black hole and just turn within himself. One day he's gonna be out there yelling at an umpire for making a correct call that didn't benefit him, and all of a sudden he's just gonna go and disappear. Shohei Ohtani yesterday hit his third home run in 10 at-bats.
He's amazing.
He's dialed in.
And the thing is, from what I hear, he's just a fantastic guy. He signs autographs all game long.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
This is the type of guy we need as the face of baseball. I know Stephen A. Smith wasn't sure it was really possible because he doesn't speak the best English.
That's one guy I can't stand.
Same here.
There's another lizard person.
I think he's just a jackass. But
yeah, I agree.
It's but Shohei is I have to say it's in the position that he's in, he's doing it exceedingly well.
Right.
Because when you're that unique, he's literally the talent of a century, because the only person that we can compare him to is Babe Ruth.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would have said before the Angels got him that it's impossible for someone to go both ways, but he's proved me wrong.
And not just that he's doing it well. This isn't like Zach Greinke that can hit 240 as a pitcher. This is legitimate talent on both sides of the ball. And the pressure that comes with that, he's on the face of the video game this year. Even on days he's not playing, he gets interviewed.
Yeah, it seems like nothing phases him.
Exactly. He's just like, and what was great is all of these homers and these at-bats, the good things that have come since the now viral video of him giving CPR to his bat. It worked. I don't know if maybe we need to go talk to Joey Gallo and teach him how to do CPR. Like maybe they can just put him through a class, have Giancarlo Stanton go back in. Maybe Judge needs to get an extra help. Just the whole Yankees roster should probably be in attendance.
The sad thing with Ohtani though is, they have Ohtani and Trout and they're still horrible.
It's
the mess.
Angels. It is. The Angels organization should be capitalizing on this, because Trout is rounding third at this point in his career. I don't mean that disrespectfully. He's just been.
No, I agree, and he's always hurt.
And injuries are now a concern now. As he's getting later, they should be opening up the checkbook right now.
I agree.
They should have landed Correa. And they should have landed Correa, possibly even Story if they could have figured it out and gotten Story to second like Boston has. You should be grabbing at every position. Oh, hey, can we call the Dodgers and see if we can buy Mookie Betts to put him out in the outfield with Trout? Every move possible to capitalize on this team, because that is a talent of a century.
Yeah, you got to take advantage of it while you can.
It's why nobody has questioned all of the aggressive moves that the Kansas City Chiefs have made with the fact that they have Patrick Mahomes as their quarterback. Right. You don't want to waste that talent.
Right.
No.
I agree totally.
So in looking at that organization, obviously, you've got Shohei and Trout as bats, and you've got Shohei on the mound every 4 or 5 days. What else do you think the Angels can do to start moving in the right direction to maybe try and make a run at a playoff spot?
I don't know. I guess they need more pitching. Obviously, they have enough offense with Shohei and Trout, and this guy David Fletcher is a hell of a second baseman.
He is. Fletcher is definitely one of the shining stars on that lineup.
But it just baffles me that they're not better.
They should be.
I think Joe Madden has totally been exposed. The fact that he can't win with that team.
On paper, they should be a wild card team.
Right.
Realistically.
Well, especially with the A's tanking this year as they're going to tank. I mean, definitely should be a wild card team.
I feel bad for the guys within that organization, and I think you could be right. Maybe it's Joe Madden that's getting exposed. because why aren't they?
Plus, didn't they have all that off-season stuff with drug selling with a general manager or something?
That was an equipment manager.
Oh, right. But that was the Angels, right?
Yep. But does that, I mean, unless you've got some guys coming off of withdrawals from whatever he was selling, I don't get how that, like, I can see like in the upper echelon and stuff like that, I can see that rattling some things.
Yeah, but I mean, just the turmoil in general.
Yeah, negative energy in a clubhouse can do a lot of things. So, yeah, okay, I guess I see what you're saying.
But I mean, the guys that are still there, they don't give a crap. They just want to play and get paid.
Right. And that's both a good mentality and a bad mentality at the same time. And that's what's frustrating. Because it's great that you're going to put your head down and just do the work. Why not? But at the same time, that's one of the things that's so big about team sports. Like you talked about last week, when you got to the Yankees, even though you were raised a Red Sox fan, you drank the Kool-Aid.
Yep.
As you should. That's what's appropriate for that environment. You drank the Kool-Aid for every team you walk through the doors on.
Absolutely.
Because that's how everybody stays bought in. That's how the focus stays where it needs to be. And that's how you generate success, because everybody's in the mood to
Plus,
win.
I guess later on in your career, you can pick and choose where you go. And if you want to go close to your hometown, more power to you. You can do that. But when you're just fresh out of college, you can't do that.
No.
But if you're a 15-year vet, people say, well, why did you want to go to Miami? Well, he was raised in Fort Lauderdale.
He wants to play close to home. He wants his friends and his family to be able to come see him play more often.
Yeah.
You know, spend 82 games, spend half the year sitting right there with your family all around. And the rest of the time, your wife at least has the support of the family that you have there while you're on the road. She's not doing it alone because you're in LA or Milwaukee where nobody wants to go. Like, yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
Well, and I think no matter the sport, I think every person that plays always has that wanting to play for the team they grew up watching. If I were to ever have played baseball or any sport, I would have loved to play for a Houston team just because that's what got me into those sports. But
oh yeah,
and it's rare, even more rare, to be one of the guys that actually gets to do that. And
not just making it, but making it and playing for the team you grew up watching.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that though, because I wouldn't have wanted to play with anybody other than the Yankees. I mean, I talked to a guy who played for the Expos for 2 years, and he goes, I'd rather play one game for the Yankees than 3 years with the Expos.
Was it because
I bet you there's one person out there. I bet you there's one person out there that if you interviewed them and said, if you'd have went pro and could have played for any team, I bet you could have found at least one person that would have said the Expos. Maybe not. I could be wrong.
My question to you, though, Stefan, is did they elaborate on why they said that? Or was it just like because of how the organization was run, or what was it?
I think just, the Yankees have this mystique about this awesome organization, and the Expos didn't have that.
Right. It's, yeah, that's, and wasn't it the Expos that were moved down to Arizona to become the Diamondbacks? Is that what it was, if I remember correctly?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I was thinking about that the other day for some reason. But no, it's the Angels are another organization that are sitting on a pot of gold, and rather than looking at how to make the pot of gold bigger, they're just sitting on the pot of gold because they don't want to let it go.
Right.
And that's what I don't get.
Is that guy Moreno still their owner?
Is it who?
Moreno.
I think so, yeah.
When he first bought them, everybody was all excited because he lowered the beer prices, and he goes, we're here for the fans. But I guess not anymore.
That's, I mean, in when did hold on, I'm going to look at this here. Okay, so he bought him in 2003. And what frustrates me is I think Moreno's one of those ones that's kind of just gotten lost in the fact that he took, because he bought let's look at this here. So when Moreno bought the Angels in 2003, I believe it was from Disney. He bought him for $184 million.
And they had just
The
been to the World
Angels-
Series, right? In 2002, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they beat my Giants.
That's right.
And that organization is now valued at an estimated $2 billion.
Amazing.
$2 billion from $200 million.
That's why I really don't have much sympathy for the owners when it comes to lockout or strike.
And I think that's what frustrates me is the amount of funds and resources that an organization like a pro ball team has to not have to have owners against things like a $75 million salary floor. Now, I haven't seen anything confirmed, but that was one of the things the players initially were fighting for that they ended up backing off of. And I believe it because their biggest focus was making sure that everybody's getting paid more of what they're worth.
Right.
As they should. But I think, yeah, as a league, the Major League Baseball should have a salary floor. I think 75 to 100 million is pretty reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
You've got, well, especially because the smallest markets still got over 60 million from TV last year. And that was in a COVID year.
Yeah, and you got to defend it. You can't just sit on it.
Right.
And
that's with the new agreements with Yahoo and with Apple and with Hulu and with the DraftKings and
all the sports betting stuff, yeah,
all that stuff. All that money goes directly to the owners. The players aren't going to see 1 red cent of that. The days of a small market team, when they're getting all the lion's share of that money, that's going to be a pretty much no longer can be called a small market team because they got all this money rolling in. They're going to have no excuses for not spending it.
It's just like, what I was saying earlier about the Yankees, 266 million in payroll versus the Orioles, 64, including the contract for the player that's no longer on the roster. The Orioles players, especially if they can manage to beat what is on paper a very good Yankees roster. If you look at that roster that is in the Bronx, they're a wild card team.
They've been saying for the last 10 years that they're good on paper.
But that's the problem, it's not translating. Right.
Yeah.
But we've got $266 million in payroll. The Orioles are getting away with murder at 42 for active players.
Right.
That's not just stealing from the league because they're still getting profit sharing checks from the leagues because they're small market teams.
Right.
But these same organizations got 60 plus million in TV revenue last year alone. Why? I mean, the product you have on this TV that's getting you paid is because of these players. Mancini should arguably, especially with everything he's been through and the attention that he's got in the organization, just with everything he's done himself, Mancini should be getting absolutely paid.
Yeah, that guy can mash.
And he's a great hitter. It's like Pete Alonso with the Mets should be getting paid vastly more money than he does. This is the first year of his career where his salary is not going to be doubled by the money he makes off of the home run derby.
What do you guys think Judge will get in free agency?
What he wants.
There's going to be some team stupid enough to get
too damn much.
Exactly.
He'll get what he wants.
There's always one team that thinks they're one player away.
And he will get that one player away money. He will.
Yes, he will.
And Seven knows my feelings on Judge. Like, he had one good season and has ridden that season ever since.
Right.
I can't dog him. He is a good ball player. He's got a good bat, but he's not been anywhere near what he was in 2018.
Well, I kind of feel the same about Bryce Harper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I agree with you.
Absolutely agree. And with Judge, like the thing that I will say about Judge is where he has fallen off has been the plate consistently, because he is still defensively in the outfield. He's one of the best outfielders in professional baseball.
Oh, definitely.
You've got him, Trout, Betts, and a couple of others that are in that crowd right now. And Alex Verdugo is very quickly earning his way into that as well, because he has been killing it. He has been killing it.
And he's playing that wall like nobody ever has.
And I think, and he said he was going to be happier in the outfield. And I think that he's just somebody that's natural out there. It's not something you get to see very often. Like I'm not saying he's as good as Griffey, but it was Junior that played in the outfield, was it, or was it Senior?
That was Junior. It was both.
Junior. Okay, yeah.
Both.
Oh, did they both? Okay, but
Yeah.
I mean, Junior especially was natural out there.
Oh yeah.
I actually just saw a video the other day of one of their first games together of Junior running across the field and stealing a fly ball from his father. And the story was he actually got grounded for that play.
Their interviews that season they played together were hilarious.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good.
For a week, Junior.
Yeah, no,
take
your away his car.
And take your phone away.
Hi,
That reminds me, when the game I pitched, Griffey Sr. was in right field. Jerry Mumphrey was a center fielder. Mumphrey was totally useless. I threw a great changeup. Guy took a massive swing. Mumphrey started going back because he saw the swing, but it was a really good changeup. So the guy hit it on the end, and it just kind of blooped in front of him, and then it rolled by him. And then another pitch, the guy hit a fly ball to right. Mumphrey was looking around like, where is it? And all of a sudden you see Griffey coming out of the right side of the screen in right field and make an amazing diving catch.
Wow. That's insane. Good outfield play can be a very huge asset, especially those guys that aren't afraid to get their legs under them and climb that wall. Right. Especially now with the way things have changed and the fact that so many people are hitting it farther. And then again, once you get into the summer and that air gets thinner and those balls start flying even farther, you're going to see, especially now with the changes that they've made. I know they're going to use those juice balls again. That's coming if it hasn't already. You're going to have to see guys like Mookie, like Trout, like Verdugo, climbing walls to steal home runs, because that's how you're going to keep your team in the game.
That's where I think that Griffey really got hurt by not taking steroids. I mean, I'm definitely not a steroid guy, but, if steroids prevent or make you recover faster, one of Griffey's Junior's problems was that he was always hurt. And if he had been on steroids, he could have probably played another 200 games.
Well, and that's the thing. Oh, no, sorry. We've got a person in the background. I'm going to let's see if we can get them banned. Oh, okay. One of the things that I feel like we need to, and with the steroid era, that's always been my thing. Like, because initially I was, the rookie opinion on that. Like, how could they cheat? And then once I realized that a lot of guys were doing it just because it had started and they were just trying to stay competitive. Like, and Barry Bonds was putting up Hall of Fame numbers even before he started using steroids anyways. So when you look at that and you look at really what steroids do, like, it was just about that muscle recovery. You instead of having to take a day off, take 5 days off as a pitcher with steroids.
I mean, that's why I think Clemens was on it. Mm-hmm. Let him pitch more.
And we've seen consistently, and this is the other thing that I've thought about that really kind of made me dive deeper on this. We have seen all of these players that have spent a lot of money making sure that it was done safely and quietly. Okay. So we haven't seen A-Rod have too many adverse effects. The guys that we see that have adverse effects when it comes to those type of products, it's simply because they weren't getting the energy out.
Oh, have you seen A-Rod's testicles? How do you know his testicles have insurance?
I mean, whether or not his testicles shrink, that's not I'm not looking at that. I'm talking like, going crazy and killing his family or, stuff like that. We
like
haven't
roid
seen,
rage?
Yeah, like roid rage, or like something all of a sudden just degenerating faster than it would have normally, things like that. So we haven't seen these things. so it can be done safely.
Oh,
So
yeah.
kind of like with expanding tech, the sticky substances, I wouldn't be against looking at, as long as everybody has the same access,
Legalizing it?
Why not? I mean, because at this point, what else can you do to bring that
No,
stuff
I
back to the
agree.
game?
I think that's not a bad idea.
And you bring
It's
up
like prostitution. As long as you monitor it and tax it, go for it. Legalize it.
And you bring up a great
Professional
point
athletes from modern
also.
day. Go ahead. Sorry, Josie. Go ahead.
You bring up a great point because a lot of people go back to with roids and stuff. If you know the history, they use Chris Benoit in that. But
his wasn't his was CTE.
That, and that's my point. Is
and that's why I didn't.
We went further in and learned more now and realized that it wasn't a steroid issue; it was a CTE issue. But also, it's the same thing I say with weed and everything. It all needs to be studied more. We need to know the long term. And when I say long term side effects, I'm talking a guy who's done it for 20, 30 years. What did it have? What were the later effects on his body?
But also look at this. One of the other things in the common world where this could be, okay, with this steroids, we talk about recovery. Okay, what about this? Like my wife has knee issues. She's going through physical therapy right now, and it's possible that in the next year she may have to have her third knee surgery. Is something in those products something that would actually help my wife's knees properly recover, so that as a 34-year-old woman, she wasn't looking at getting total knee replacements for both knees?
Definitely. Yeah, and I get steroid injections in my back.
Exactly. Like
my dad does too.
What are we robbing ourselves of by not diving deeper into these products?
I had ACL meniscus repair 2.5 years ago, and I guarantee you in the next 3, I'm going to have it again. And the doctors told me at my age, the chances that it pops again and I repair it are like 90%, because it's not, once it breaks, it's going to continue to have issues.
I think, they're basically glass at that point.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing about those tears, is like when a lot of times we see athletes get ACL tears, or Achilles tears, stuff like that. It's hard for them to come back, because that's you're going to build up scar tissue and stuff like that. It's difficult.
Oh yeah.
But today's professional athletes across every sport are the evolved modern day gladiators, for lack of a better sense of term for the modern day.
They have amazing technology now.
Exactly. So we have most of these athletes that are the high-end professional.
Few years, we're probably going to get rid of the umpire, or at least to an extent. In the next few years, not to 100%. No, I understand, but they are trying out these strike zone computers.
Now it'll just be because they'll still put the umpire there, and they can still
just get a beep.
Pitch call.
You'll just get a beep in this, right?
Yeah,
it's just got to be less on the. Okay, let me rephrase. It'll be no more on the ump's eye. The ump won't be the caller. He will just hear the beep and say, "Okay, strike, ball."
I think that's a great idea.
I agree. So many games, it takes the human error out of it, because it drives
and you get a
crazy.
Consistent strike zone.
Watching the playoffs last year drove me crazy when you would see one guy get a strike and then not the inning later, the same pitch is a ball.
And just the fact that some umpires are known as high ball umpires and some are known as...
That's BS.
Exactly.
It's there's a Twitter account and that posts like a report card for every home plate umpire's performance. And you can see where the strike zone was based on how they called pitches and the accuracy rating for everything and all of that. And I find those very interesting to watch. And this is not to disrespect what umpires do, whether it's behind home plate or at any of the bases. It is a hard job. You have to be able to watch stuff in sometimes a split second, make the right call. And even when you're right, you're wrong. Those guys get criticized ridiculously. But but also to that end, where we have technology to remove margin of error on those things, we should absolutely be taking advantage of it. Because we posted a story earlier this week where a woman was assaulted after umpiring a 12-year-old softball game.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, parents? You think it's that important?
Apparently.
I don't get it. Like,
parents are ruining sports. End of story. When it to all ports, being too
It's
hard
because
on
of
the kids,
unrealistic expectations. They
being
think
too
that
hard on the kids and thinking, "Oh, my kid's going to be the next whatever of this sport."
Right.
And then also to the fact of they then think, "Oh, my kid's going to be the next whatever of this sport, so I have the right to say this to the umpire." And you're right. There is in any sport, a baseball umpire is probably one of the most hated person of every sport.
except for Scott Foster of the NBA. That guy is, but that's a completely different discussion.
That's because he's garbage.
But anyway, no, and that's the thing. And like, I do legitimately feel bad for some of the heat that these refs get because they are doing their job. Across all of these sports, they are doing their job. And most of the time, they're not too far off. You know, they get in the
especially in football. In football, you see, they're usually right.
Yeah, honestly. And that's why, you know, and you know, and I like that these networks are using like Gene Steratore and other retired referees to bring in on those discussions so we can kind of change that image. And I like what the MLB has done this year with putting a mic up on the home plate umpire to announce the calls when they, you know, review like challenges and stuff like that.
What drives me nuts though is when certain plays are not reviewable. So why not? You're reviewing half the other plays.
Every play should be reviewable.
Exactly. Why is a ball that hits a chalk down the right field line not reviewable?
And that's my question, because we have the technology, and I get speed of play, especially with baseball. That's the big concern, right? Speed of play.
Yeah, but I'd rather get it right and take a little longer.
Exactly. There are areas where we can cut down. Things that they've done, like a pitcher has to face 3 batters. That's perfect. Yep. A pitch clock when nobody's on base. That's perfect. Yep. Those are reasonable expectations. But to not utilize technology that we have to get it right, when we have the technology readily available, and it's not like the money's not there to have it there in the first place.
Right.
I don't get it. I do not get it. But all right, guys. So getting to the point, you know, get to the point to the end of our night. So one of the things we always like to do at the end of our show, Stefan, is a final thought. And since we're actually organized and on time this week, we're going to get to do this. So for the week of baseball, any final thoughts, Stefan?
Well, I'm a Red Sox fan, as you guys know. I think the AL East, you know, you go in a 3-game losing streak, you can go from first to fourth in a heartbeat. I think that's going to last all year long. Like Tampa, the Rays were in first place. They were 4-0. Then they were in first place by a lot, and then they lost 4 in a row. Now they're in fourth place.
And you know, there's been a lot of conversation about even putting the Orioles as the fifth, you know, a lock for 5th place.
Right.
But clearly, I'm not saying the Orioles are going to win the division. I still can't even in my right mind give any credence to that thought. But if the Yankees collapse or continue to collapse and not drive any results this year, and a couple of other things fall into place, it's not impossible to see them at 3rd in the division.
Oh, that would drive Yankee fans nuts.
Could you imagine there would be riots in Brooklyn?
I agree.
What about you, Craig? Any final thoughts?
I've been watching the National League West. I mean, the Giants are in the middle, just started their 11-game longest road trip so far of the early season. And I think the pitching in the West is really good. I mean, and I might be able to say even the Giants have the best pitching in the West, above the Dodgers right now. But I've really been impressed with how the pitching, in spite of having such a less lengthy spring training, the pitchers really seem to be on top of their progress.
Well, I think last year wasn't their bullpen the best bullpen in baseball?
Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
it was absolutely. Yeah.
My final thought is the ring still fits. No,
get out of here, Josie.
No, my final thought is
oh, wait, I actually have one.
Thank you, Stefan. And Steffens is real.
Oh, Stefan with the W.
No,
Oh,
my
man.
thought is that there needs to be something done with the ownership of all, not just talking baseball, but all sports teams. There needs to be something. It needs to be looked at as more than, I'm going to buy this team and make money.
Right.
What
There needs to
money
be
am
more
I going to
vetting.
put into this team?
More
So
vetting.
then in turn, it makes me money.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the leagues, and the league should be doing this vetting as well, because league owners have to approve a sale.
Yep.
And so league leadership in their vetting process, because the league does vet anybody that's potentially going to try and buy a team. Part of that vetting process should be establishing plans and stuff like that to get the to get the gauge and the pulse of this person. Do you want to turn this into a winning franchise,
Right.
or are you just trying to buy a business that you can print money with?
Is it an investment or a love of your life?
And exactly, because you shouldn't have, just like you shouldn't have a commissioner
That
that
makes $5
doesn't
million
like
a
the game,
year. That
that
makes
doesn't
$5
like the
million a
game.
year.
Fucking Manfred. But you shouldn't have a commissioner that doesn't love the game that they're commissioner of. You shouldn't have a sports team owner that isn't passionate about that sport.
Right.
Doesn't have to have been, I grew up loving the Chiefs and I'm buying it from Clark Hunt because he's wanting to sell the team and get out of the NFL business. It doesn't have to be that. It just has to be somebody that is as passionate about what's right in football and building a championship team and a championship organization. And that's what matters.
Honestly, the best example for this, Green Bay Packers, owned by the fans. The fans make almost 90% of the decisions. Now, is there a CEO? And yes, but they still have to report to the fans, and the city owns the team.
But the problem with the Packers is there's no ultimate accountability.
And I'm not going to say it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's not a perfect system. But if you look at that system compared to how some of the other teams with shitty owners are working,
right?
No, and you're exactly right. Because if you aren't passionate about that and that sport, and I don't care what sport it is, if you own a WNBA team, you better be a passionate basketball fan.
Right.
If you own a
single A baseball team,
you'd better be passionate about baseball.
Passionate baseball fan.
And
wasn't there like a Republican congressman last year who owned the Sparks or something? Who
she was
bad-mouthing the whole time?
Yes.
Yeah, the players. What was interesting about that was the players forced the sell of the team, and I think that's fantastic because you can't bite the hand.
Is that Kelly Loeffler?
Yep. Yeah, and I'm glad that they were able to have some accountability in that and take the reins away from her, because that needed to be done anyway in that situation. Kind of like, some of the ones that we've seen, like Sterling and things of that nature, were like, no, this should have happened a long time ago. What's about to happen with Dan Snyder?
I was going to say.
That is an entire clusterfuck of a situation, and I cannot wait for him to lose his freedom and his team.
I was going to say the Redskins, the Commanders are about to experience that.
And to be, there's, in wrestling, there's a heel, the bad guy in the story, right?
Right.
They win sometimes, but they're the
most of the time,
dick energy right there in the middle that propels
matters
it.
For the heel. It's just the
story.
What happened? What did I do?
Right. And you've got these, some of these owners that are kind of, they're a little out there to be out there as part of the persona that the public sees for what they do. I don't have a problem with that. A heel is not a bad guy to be a bad guy. A heel is a bad guy to tell a different part of the story.
Well, and you need the heel to make the good guy look good.
Right.
But the problem is in sports is there's not always a good guy. There's just the bad guy.
And a good heel makes the good guy look good by being bad, but also is very good at being the heel. The Yankees were the villain of baseball despite all their wins. And Steinbrenner ran that organization as like a heel of baseball to a fucking T. It was beautiful what the Yankees did during
what the Yankees did is what I wanted the Astros to do after their scandal.
You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. I don't think it's ever going to happen.
And I will say the Astros the players themselves did a good job of embracing the hate and just saying, fuck it, let's go. And I mean, after that, they still went to the World Series twice after that. Craig, you know what?
Bullshit. They
I have mute control, Craig.
They never faced the wrath of the fans and the AA batteries and all the stuff that should have been coming to them. They got away scot-free.
I made a joke at the start.
Every team was cheating the same way.
But here's the thing. No, Craig's got a point though, because I made a joke at the start of what should have been the 2020 season when COVID hit that said Jose Altuve was going to take more hits that season than a backstop at batting practice.
Right.
And if the season had gone on in full, I'd be correct, because those players would have started off that season really pissed off. And it's not just about the cheating. It's about the fact that them getting caught is what resulted in everybody else getting caught.
Yeah. And it was so blatant.
Really,
they're so
it all
arrogant.
comes down to Mike Ferris is a bitch.
They were so arrogant.
And over half the teams cheated. We're all aware of that by now. Like, it wasn't just the Astros. But
I still want the Yankee stuff is supposed to be coming out in the next couple of months, like the full report of everything.
They've got to redact names for security and stuff like that. But yeah, that's coming. The Supreme Court has ruled that no, that's coming. So that'll be interesting to see. But okay, my final thoughts: Xander Bogaerts deserves to get paid.
Yes,
plain and simple. Pay him.
And Aaron Judge does not.
Absolutely. Xander Bogaerts should be making more money than Aaron Judge. I don't think it's going to happen.
Him and Devers on the same side of the infield are awesome.
Agree.
It is an amazing combination. And Story is already doing very well at second base.
Oh, yeah.
He has adapted and changed over very well. So you can spend that money comfortably. You're the Red Sox organization. You are one of the biggest organizations in sports. You can print your own money. Pay them. Spend it.
Pay them.
Your fans will get you back. Because you don't, this is, if they don't, with either one of these, this turns into the Mookie Betts situation all over again. With either one of them. But okay, gentlemen, thank you all so much. And Josie, sorry. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight. We will see everybody next week on the Winter Meetings.
Can I have one last final thought? Last one?
Go for it. What you got for us, Stephen?
DraftKings. I am so perturbed about that. I mean, when I was playing ball, gambling was such a no-no in baseball, and now you see it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the last 5, COVID really changed that. And the fact that you've got DraftKings and you've got all these Caesars, and every casino now has their own sportsbook app. And now that the NFL has kind of gotten on board with it, and in the next 5 years, you'll start to see tickers on games during the game.
Yep.
And I remember like 20 years ago, Vita Blue, I think it was Vita Blue, and one of the guys were fired from baseball because they were a doorman at a casino.
No, that was Mays. That was Mays and Mantle.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, Mays and Mantle. Yeah, they got kicked out of baseball by Cohen because they were quote involved with gamblers and stuff, and that was so stupid.
Everybody, if you're a baseball fan or not, everybody knows the story of Pete Rose and
And then we also saw the NFL player Calvin Ridley.
Yeah,
he has now been
missing an entire season
for betting on 3 games. He bet on his team to win, and he was out on mental health. Wasn't even with the team. He was basically on medical leave, and they still got him for a year. So I do think that it's good that there's accountability there as far as the players and the coaches and stuff like that, especially with what happened with Pete Rose and some of these guys. But I also feel like with having the sports betting aspect. Granted, me betting $5 on Boston winning the 5th inning against the Twins is inconsequential to Boston or the Twins.
Right.
But because I've got $5, I'm paying more attention to that 5th inning because I want to know who's going to win that 5th inning. And so I think that as long as it's done properly, professional sports embracing sports betting can be a good thing. But there's going to be some growing pains, and we're going to see more guys go down for betting when they shouldn't have.
Well, I saw a game yesterday. They had the over-under listed.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's crazy.
I mean, ESPN has been running the over-under and the spread on any of their previews for games, right. And they show the line during the game. If you're following a game on ESPN's for any sport, if they have the line from Caesars, it's there.
Truly, that came about with the XFL's reincarnation because they really went hard on the sports betting side of it. Like they were showing lines and stuff during the games. And when they folded, that's one of the things that other leagues seem to pick up on. Because the NFL, the next season, signed their deal with
DraftKings,
and then Major League Baseball is behind it. Basketball is behind it. I mean, you look at all the parlays and different things they do for the playoffs to get people interested. And I know a guy who won $1,500 off of one bet.
Hey, is that a heart behind you? That's so sweet.
Huh?
The pink heart behind you.
Hey,
no,
don't be talking about my pink bunny.
It's a bunny, so damn it.
It's a beef.
But no, there are some pluses and some minuses, but I think before everything settles down with it becomes just the norm. I think we're going to see each sport have at least one player go down for a major thing.
I think you're right.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's not going to be a big name player because they're not, most of them are not that stupid. It's going to be
it'll be some AAA guys.
It'll be a middle of the road guy.
They'll just want to set an example.
Yeah. And they're going to, and that's like with Calvin Ridley, that may be the biggest one we see in the NFL. I don't think it is. I think we will see another active player that actually does something, and we'll see them lose their career.
Maybe not because they've made such a big example out of Ridley.
I'm honestly, I expect his suspension to get cut down though. It'll go to 6 to 8 games. By the time the appeals process gets done, he'll get 6 to 8 games. Because of the fact that he was away from the team and he didn't bet with any inside information or against his team, it's going to be a hard sell to get a full year when you've got players that are abusing their spouses and their children getting 2 and 4 games.
Exactly. Well,
and it sets a bad precedence when, yes, there was ethical violations of what Calvin Ridley did, but he used his own name. His screen name was his name as well. He cooperated with the investigation, and he didn't bet against his team or with any inside information. So I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to get punished, but it's not going to be a full season. But somebody will lose at least an entire year at some point in the NFL. We'll see it in baseball, and it'll be one of those guys that's like the 25th or 26th on the roster that's only making the minimum, that's just trying to expand what he's doing. And so he's going to be playing parlays and hoping he gets lucky. He's not, most of these guys aren't going to be doing a bunch of bad stuff with their betting, like throwing games and stuff like that. But stupid people will get caught.
One more final thought. I know we need to get out of here, but y'all were talking about steroids and everything, and I read this article this week that said we need an XFL version of baseball. One, to try out rules and all that.
That's what the Bananas League is for.
But also, you allow steroids. You don't let you only put 2 outfielders in the field. And just let them play more like the SFL rules. Let them play, let them enjoy the game. And it would also make it more exciting because I'm sorry, guys, I know we love baseball, but watching these games has been so disappointing to see these stadiums not even 20% full.
Right.
But it is disheartening to see the stadiums, not very full. But part of that is you've got so many organizations that aren't putting a product on the field.
Yeah, I know.
Because if you go to a Dodgers game,
who wants to pay money to go watch Cincinnati lose to the Dodgers 9-1 only Dodgers fans, which I promise you there's not a lot here in Ohio.
Like here, that's the thing. Here in Arizona, that there are Dodgers fans that will come to Dodgers games in Arizona because it's cheaper to drive to Arizona and go to the game than it is to go to a Dodgers game in LA.
I will be going to a Cincinnati Reds game, but they will be playing the Astros.
And that's
I think
the
the
thing.
owners really under. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. I think the owners really underestimated the anger that the fans had with this lockout.
Right.
I'm proud. I'm glad to see that stadiums are not full to capacity.
It's going to force the owners to
the first
cater back to
time
the
that
fans.
the owners weren't able to. It's the first time that the owners weren't able to make themselves the victim because the players had so many outlets.
It's like we've talked about this on the sports report. The reason why the lockout was different this time is because the owners couldn't control the narrative. The players had their voice out in the public too. And so it was lazy. You can't make the players look greedy when they're showing us what's going on from their side. And we can look at this and go, no, bro, you need to open up your checkbook. They're in the right on this one.
Yeah.
And just to pat ourselves in the back, the last time there was a lockout, there was no podcast. There was nobody out there like us telling the truth and putting the focus on what the owners were doing. They can't hide anymore.
Well, at that point with baseball and TV and radio, the league had so much control over the content that went out over those airwaves, whether it was TV or audio, just over the radio, that nobody questioned the information. Even though there was complete manipulation going on behind the scenes. I'm sure you didn't see a lot of it with your position because you didn't work with anything as major, Craig, but you probably heard a lot of things.
I heard a lot. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You nailed it.
And so, now, and I think that's one of the great things about social media. Obviously, there are some bad things. There are a lot of bad things. But some of the great things is it's a lot easier for information to be out there.
Yeah, more transparency.
And the transparency of professional sports is, I think, one of the ways that you keep fans engaged.
Right.
Because if they don't know, because without that information, they're not able to have as honest conversations.
Yep.
So I think that the social media age demanding transparency from professional sports is one of the benefits of the social media age, is we are seeing so much more. Basketball as a sport is better because of the social media age, because Adam Silver had the genius to utilize the players in social media in the marketing.
Because Adam Silver is actually a pretty good commissioner. He's
one of the best commissioners in professional sports.
Agree. Yeah.
And that's not saying much.
It's not.
Yeah, the bar's pretty low, but he's still up here.
Because you've got guys like Manfred and Goodell and my absolute, I despise this man, and Dana White, one of the worst commissioners of a sport in general. Man,
I think one of the worst people in general.
Agreed. The man should not own a pizza stand, let alone one of the biggest sporting companies in the world.
And it's, and Dana White should have to look in a mirror and feel really bad about the fact that the reason that this is being talked about more is because he got called out by Jake Paul. How low do you have to be called out by Jake Paul?
And I realize this isn't that show, and we've had that conversation, but everybody that shit on Jake Paul and Logan Paul for getting into boxing, those motherfuckers put in the work. They put in work.
Absolutely,
to be real, legitimate boxers. They're not.
And Jake Paul did the work to be in WrestleMania too.
Yes.
If you watch that match, he did a great job. It's just like it was Bad Bunny last year that was the big celebrity, and he did a stellar job.
I'm a diehard fan, and I don't normally get around celebrities coming in because they don't usually give it the respect I feel that. The three I will give respect to is Johnny Knoxville's match with Sami Zayn this year was one of the best comedy matches I've seen in probably 25 years.
I would give you that.
It was great. Logan Paul looked better in the ring than his two opponents in Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. And then Bad Bunny 2 years ago killed it in that match. And as long as you're willing to give it the respect and put in the work, I have no problem with celebrities coming into these sports. Logan Paul and Jake Paul put in the work and became professional boxers.
And I like wrestling too, because you can also like other professional sports, because I get that wrestling is sports entertainment, but like actual, like even just legitimate competitive sports can learn, because the WWE's heyday, or WWF back in the day, when I remember originally when I started watching wrestling, their heyday, the Attitude Era, one of the things that made them as big as they were was they marketed based on the personas of the wrestlers.
Oh yeah.
Their athletes, instead of the organization as a whole. As WWE shifted their focus back to the organization and not the entertainers, they have started to decline.
And that's why but that's why you have companies like AEW and these other smaller companies doing well again,
right?
Because they're not focusing on the product; they're focusing on the person.
Right, but what I'm saying, like with baseball, players, one of the things that players have wanted is for the marketing and these things around baseball to be more player centric, because this is the faces the fans recognize. This is who they're cheering for every day. And so when you utilize that, you're going to generate more attention. One of the things that has made MLB's marketing so much better this year has been Shohei. And also, if you have a subscription to MLB TV or watch the MLB network, the commercials for the MLB TV shows incorporating players and the analysts have been really well received.
Definitely. Well, they're well done.
And they're very well done. And so they're starting to get a taste of it now. And I hope that Manfred realizes, and all of the production people over in baseball realize, the more you allow your marketing to focus on the talent that the people are cheering for, the easier it will be to bring fans in, because they want somebody to cheer for. They don't want to cheer for.
That's interesting, because I used to think totally the opposite, because I used to watch commercials for the NBA, and they always focused on one guy, like watch Michael Jordan come in. And I thought that was because it was a bad product, because you never saw that in baseball. But I guess you're starting to see it now. I thought the NBA was, because they didn't have I didn't used to like the NBA. I thought they had a bad product, which is why they're focusing on the individuals.
It doesn't need to be a solo. I agree with you.
Right.
The way they focused on Jordan and now LeBron, it's too much. You need every team should find a guy and make that guy the guy for their team. And the way that A-Rod will always be synonymous with the Yankees, the way that Poppy will always be synonymous with Boston. Even going Bagwell will always be synonymous with the Houston Astros. Like, you just don't see that as much anymore.
In my thing of it is, like, I understand that in a team atmosphere on the field, the name on the front matters more than the name on the back. But from a marketing standpoint, which is part of your business as a professional sport, is the marketing of that sport, especially when you're struggling to keep fans interested. You've got to say, okay, I've got Mookie Betts and Justin Turner, they're going to do this. I've got Justin Verlander and whoever else and Altuve that are going to do this. Shohei and Trout. You can utilize these as teams for certain things to drive more interest, and you will get more out of it than you will spend, and you still going to have the Angels logo, the Red Sox logo, the Yankees logo. It's still going to be all over everything, but people are going to want to watch Aaron Judge play. The Yankees don't have the best reputation in baseball right now, so it's going to be harder to sell watch the Yankees than it is to sell watch Aaron Judge. Right.
Well, that's another reason I think he might get a lot of money, is just for, he'll drive up attendance.
Oh, yeah. It's just like one of the reasons why it's easier for the Twins to pay Correa.
Right.
Is because he's driving attendance.
Look at what Correa did for Twins sales the moment they announced that.
It erupted. And so from that, and that's why absolutely you can leverage that marketing, and Correa is the type
Sorry
of
about
guy
that.
Oh, you're fine. You can leverage that marketing, especially with guys like Correa, Mancini, and in Baltimore. There's so many guys on each team that you can use in that sense, so that you can draw them in, because it's not just, the NBA has to utilize LeBron to draw people in. But luckily, the NBA is structured more now where you've got a few big, at least a couple of bigs on each team. Like, yes, the Suns don't have LeBron, but the Suns have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton. And
the only team that you have with no bigs on it are the Rockets.
Exactly. You've got those names in this, and the teams can utilize those names to market, but it's the Suns. It's the Rally the Valley. You know what I mean? So I think that it's doable as long as you do it right. WWE, WWF, whatever did it right for a while. NBA is getting better at it, especially now that they have more options to market with, and everybody's paying a lot more attention to guys like Luka and Jokic and Giannis. But you still have, market your product with the product. You know what I mean?
Well said.
All right, guys. We have actually run, this is the longest episode we've done, but I'm not hating it. Thank you so much for joining me. Of course, Steven, you're invited back every week that you want to join us. And Craig, I will see you, or I will talk to you soon, and we will see each other next week. Thank you for joining us here on the Winter Meetings. Have a great night.
Night, guys.